honored guests. On December 30th, 1999, my family took in a stray dog that we think had been dropped off in the neighborhood. At first, we didn't intend to keep him, but he was so sweet and always exuberant. The kids and I fell in love, and eventually, my husband came around as well. Curly was such a good dog, but he had one bad behavior. He pulled on his leash. So, I forgot the part. With 65 pounds of muscle, he could easily take me down to the ground. At the sight of a cat or a squirrel, off he went, dragging me behind him. So I called a dog trainer. Let's call him Number 1. Number 1 had a drill sergeant approach to dog training. I signed up for his standard 6 weekly lessons. At first I was unhappy when Number 1 did not start by teaching Curly to heel, but this was basic training. So first we needed to learn no, sit, down, and stay. Finally, on week number 6, Number 1 taught us heel. As soon as Curly starts to walk ahead of me, I am to yank his chain loud and hard, yell, "Bah!" and simultaneously turn around and walk the other way. For weeks, Curly and I went no further than the front of our house. Back and forth. Me yanking Curly oblivious to my commands. I called dog trainer Number 2. Number 2's system was to actually train the dog owner. She taught me I needed to grab Curly's attention and hold it. I could do this by holding a dog treat between my eyes. Curly would walk attentively and not pull on his leash. Number 2 successfully taught me to hold a dog treat, but Curly kept pulling. I called dog trainer Number 3. Number 3 came into the house and sat at the table. She had a bad leg. It soon became obvious that Number 3 was going to stay at the kitchen table. I wanted to be a good hostess, so I offered her some coffee and cookies. She talked about her own dogs and many other things. After a pot of coffee, a box of cookies, and 3 hours later, Number 3 asked for payment for this dog training session. Check in hand and hobbling towards the door, she asked, when did I want to schedule the next dog training session? I told her I'd call her. Then I heard about a national franchise called Barkbusters. Their motto was, any dog, any age, any problem. I called and spoke to Number 4. He was well qualified and he seemed normal. For our first session, we were to teach Curly that he was the lowest member of our pack. We learned to correct his behaviors by shouting, "Bah!" We also learned to throw chain at Curly's feet, like this. These loud noises were intended to let Curly know he was the lowest member of our pack. At least inside the house. For the next session, we took Curly outside. Number 4 had a squirt bottle filled with water. Every time Curly starts to walk ahead of me, I am to squirt his face with water. I did that. Curly didn't even slow down. Then he told me to drop a chain in front of Curly's nose as soon as he starts to pull ahead. I did that. Curly was momentarily slowed down, but when I bent to pick up the chain, Curly ran ahead and pulled. In my loudest and most dominant voice, I said to trainer Number 4, I want you to try walking Curly. No matter what he did, Curly pulled. Number 4 barked. He squirted. he dropped chains. The harder he tried to establish his dominance, the more Curly pulled to get away from him. In resignation, number 4 went to his truck and pulled out a Halti. A Halti is a restraining device for dogs like Curly. It wraps around their nose and their head, and they can only pull with the strength of their neck. Finally, I could enjoy my walks with Curly. 11 years have passed since we took Curly in. He's still sweet and always exuberant, but he's an old dog now. He has a gray muzzle, and he walks with stiff, arthritic legs. But I still use the Halti, because otherwise, Curly will still pull on his leash. Mr. Toadmaster.